All right, hello parents. This is Michael with Nexisom Sleep Wellness Centers, and today we are going to be talking about ADD, ADHD, and I have with me Dr. Mark Musso from Dallas, Texas, from Musso Family Dentistry. Dr. Musso, hey, thanks for joining me, my friend.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, so today we're talking about ADD and ADHD, also to go along with like anxiety, depression, that type of thing, right? And I wanted to just kind of speak with now. Remind me, you're a dentist, right?
This is what I love. Why are you talking to a dentist about anxiety and ADD? So yeah, this is fun. This is one of my passions.
So why am I talking with you about ADD and ADHD?
So what we know now, we weren't taught in school. We didn't understand the connection, and what it was sitting literally under our nose is how these children are having problems, and we now know that there's a root cause. Instead of just doing, medicine or whatever we need to do, we have connected dots on this situation, figuring out that when I look at a mouth, I can tell if there's a disorder, and when I look at the disorder, it usually comes down to a breathing problem, and then if you don't have a good night's sleep with good oxygen, you're going to show up with signs similar to this. And so we can talk about, kids who may or may not have some symptoms like that.
Got it. So do you think a lot of people make that connection, with ADD, ADHD to a possible breathing problem?
So you know what they did? They did some research, and they did a experiment where they put 50 kids who were sleep deprived in the same room with 50 kids who were diagnosed ADD, ADHD, mixed them up and asked the doctors to find out who had the ADD. They couldn't tell because these kids have all the same symptoms. They wake up irritated, unrested, unfocused, can't really get their mind working. And sometimes there's ADD, but sometimes it's literally sleep deprivation, and we need to know the difference, and we need to check into this more.
I like it. So really it's about raising the awareness. We need to be able to help people to connect these dots so they can see that, if your child has ADD, ADHD, there might be a connection to an airway problem or a breathing problem. So what I want to do is I want to kind of jump into some of these visible symptoms, right? This is what people are actually seeing. This is what they're experiencing. And clearly I see ADD and ADHD right up there.
Yeah, so these are symptoms that we see from what's going on, and we sometimes think we don't connect the dots with being why it's happening. Like, no child should snore or grind their teeth, period. That should never happen. And they sometimes will be told that it's normal and they'll grow out of it. Or bedwetting, it's normal to grow out of it. Or, these night terrors, they'll grow out of it. Well, I'm going to tell you that we've confused normal with common. We're told, oh, it's normal, right? It's not, it's common. And the reason it's common is because it's a root cause that we're going to talk about, but it's so overwhelming that it's become common and not normal. And we've confused that.
And normal basically meaning that, that's what our genetic potential was supposed to do. And so there's a normal, but then there's, hey, you know what? Everybody has it. So it's just common.
Yeah. And I actually said it a little bit backwards, but that's exactly right. So, and we need to understand and dig a little deeper. And as parents, we just kind of get told something and we're okay. Well, some of the parents and grandparents know and innately know that there's something wrong, and we keep digging for an answer because there is an answer. And it's not medication all the time. It's not all these other things. There is something that we know now, and as a dentist, I can look in the mouth and tell you if there's a general situation going on, and we can talk about it and see if that's something that's going to help your child.
I love it. So we've talked a little bit about the symptoms. Why don't we start talking about the underlying cause now? What possibly is going on?
So again, on this tree, you'll see all these symptoms, and a lot of times they're related to an airway that's compromised. And it could be compromised in different places, right here in the front of the nose, in the sinuses, behind where the adenoids are, or where the tonsils are, or where the tongue lays back. And so when that airway is constricted, then you're not going to get enough oxygen, and then your brain's not going to get the oxygen it needs at night. So the whole thing of waiting, they'll grow out of it. Well, this child is suffering, and it may not look like they're suffering. It may be just a little bit of constriction of air, but that's enough to throw the body into a sympathetic mode where it's not going to get good rest, and they're going to wake up and have other problems like on this tree. So there's a lot of things that we know now of why there's a compromised airway.
Got it. And so you're kind of alluding to a root cause, right? So this is the
Yeah.
underlying cause. Now let's get into the root cause. What is the root of these problems?
So
So go ahead.
So when I, excuse me, when I look in the mouth and I see that there's crowded teeth, I know that those teeth didn't have the room in the bone to be where they should be. So I know the bone hasn't grown to where it needs to be. It's not a genetic thing a lot of times. People say, oh, well, my mom had a small mouth or whatever. We know that's what we were taught. And we know that there's epigenetics, which is above and beyond what genetics is, and changes the way our body grows. So if you're sucking your thumb or doing other habits or mouth breathing, it will change the growth and development. And so if you got this crowded teeth and you have no, and the upper jaw didn't grow out like it should, you're gonna upper jaw's down and these lower teeth are crowded, you're not gonna have room for your tongue, and your tongue's gonna actually sit back towards the back of the throat. And I see airways all the time that are size of 3-4 millimeters, and that's not enough space to get airway, to get oxygen.
So how did we get to that position? I mean, why are we so underdeveloped?
It's great. So this is part of what we've had to put together in the last 10, 15 years, is now we know so much of why this is happening. And it starts literally all the way back to when you start nursing. And if you don't get the proper suction and tongue function at that age, it's difficult. We can fix it, but it's difficult to go forward if your tongue doesn't swallow properly. So let me give you a quick kind of understanding. This is the roof of your mouth. Your tongue should be sitting at rest. All of us, adults and kids, should be sitting at rest in the roof of your mouth, not just the front of the tongue, but the whole tongue. Okay, when it does that, it widens the upper jaw. When you widen the upper jaw, the lower jaw has room to come out and grow, and then the airway opens. So what you're saying is why is everything so crowded? Well, epigenetics. There's if we eat soft foods when we're 2, 3, 4 years old and we don't get this growth and development, you're not going to have room for the teeth. Then you're going to have a small airway. Then it's going to show up in bedwetting or night terrors or ADD or restless sleep sometimes. So this is now something that we've put together in our minds and we understand. And so this is kudos to you. This is about awareness, so you can teach people in California. I can only teach people that come into my office. I want people everywhere to know what this is all about so that we can help some children grow properly.
Dr. Musa, you're going to be helping people all over the world. I tell you that right now.
Amen.
I want to make sure that I understand you correctly. So we have a possible root cause of how we got here. Things like not breastfeeding enough, eating soft foods, not, as kids, not eating the harder foods that will help us develop our muscles to develop out our bone to where it's supposed to be. Am I right in saying that?
Right. There's more to it, but that's the bottom line. So if you can't breathe through your nose, you have to breathe through your mouth. And if your roof of your mouth's here and your tongue has to lay low, your growth and development is going to be altered. And so we got to talk about some of those things. If you have a tongue function that's not working properly because it's tongue-tied or lazy tongue or just not working properly, then you'll have some problems. So when I catch that early, and we get like a myofunctional therapist involved, we also get an ENT involved, an allergist. This isn't just me, a dentist. But I can be the quarterback. I can be the coach or whatever we need to do to help get to the right place. Because if you have a cat in your house or whatever, and you're allergic to cats, you won't be able to breathe. Your nose will get swollen and problems like that a lot of times we see, and then you become a mouth breather. And when you breathe through your mouth, your oxygen doesn't get into your system the same way it does as nasal breathing. We are intended to breathe through our nose so that we can get the air warmed and filtered and humidified and sterilized. Especially with COVID, antibacterial, antiviral, when you have nitric oxide that's produced in your sinuses, it will help get the oxygen. It's a vasodilator. It helps kill bacteria and virus. And it gets the oxygen to the system so it gets to your brain so you can sleep better. Sleeping, you need oxygen. It's the best medicine for sleep. And once you sleep well and get into some good rest, your body heals, your body feels better, you wake up rested, you don't have bedwetting issues, everything else that kind of goes with it.
Got it. So the one thing that I want to just touch on really briefly that caught my attention is you're talking about mouth breathing and low tongue postures. what's the connection or correlation with the tongue being down here and crooked teeth?
So your tongue is your natural palatal expander. You know, the little, sometimes we'll put these mechanical palatal expanders and widen the mouth so we can make the room.
Okay.
Your tongue is the perfect thing to do that. The shape of your tongue. When I look in a little kid's mouth and I see a high roof of the palate, that tells me that jaw didn't grow out like this. It's real high.
Okay.
Well, the roof of your mouth is the floor of the sinuses. So if you're making this real high, that means it shrunk the sinuses up there. So their little nose can't breathe as well. So once you widen everything out, you're going to get teeth to fit in the right place. You're going to get nasal breathing. You're not going to block the airway in the back, and you're going to avoid mouth breathing or other problems like that.
Got it. That's wonderful. Thank you for that explanation. I mean, really, it's about awareness. It's really about raising awareness. It's about connecting the dots. And parents, that's really why we're here right now, is to help connect the dots with you. I personally didn't know about this until about 4.5 years ago, when a really good friend of mine passed away of sleep apnea. And it's really put me on a mission ever since. When my son was 2 years old, he had a problem grinding his teeth. 2, 3, 4 years old, he ground his teeth till they were flat, almost totally flat down to the pulp. When he was 1 and 2 years old, he had to get tooth put in his ears twice, and he couldn't sleep at all. Fast forward, 16 years, 15, 16 years, we had him tested for an obstructive breathing problem last year. And Dr. Musso, I know you know this, but we had him tested last year. And as a 17-year-old, my son stops breathing 17 times an hour as a 17-year-old. And had we known that we could have had something to help him get better back when he was 2, 3 years old, we absolutely would have done it. But what's happened between now and then, it didn't go away. He didn't grow out of it like his pediatrician said, like his pediatric dentist said. What has happened is he's gotten worse. And so really our mission is to raise awareness, to get people to understand, connect the dots with what your kids might be going through to a possible problem with their airway. So Dr. Musso, any last words for us?
Yeah, actually, so you just reminded me. So by the age of 4 to 6 years old, this part of your jaw, of your head, your skull, grows at 70. It's already 75% grown. So if you don't catch this early on, and we work with 2, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds, because we can see this problem coming right away. And if we get it back to their genetic potential, then we just put them on autopilot and they grow like they should.
Oh, I love it.
Because these little people are going to grow up and be big people with airway problems. So if you have a constricted airway as a child and it's not growing to its potential, when you get older like me and you put on weight or you get muscles relaxed and sleep apnea, I have patients come in at 40, 50, 60 years old and they just go, you know what? My body's had it. I can't keep doing this, because as a child we're resilient and we can get up and get going, but your body, it takes over, and it takes a real toll on your body, and not getting enough sleep night after night for a lifetime can cause so many comorbidities. So thank you for making this aware and putting it out there. This is a ripple effect. I love to see more people understand and know more about this.
Thank you again. So parents, this is a small taste of what you get when you join our parent education meeting. So click the link below, sign up for our parent education meeting, really come and learn how you can help your children with some of these comorbidities that they might be suffering from. Dr. Musso, thank you again. You have a great evening.
Thanks, Michael.
All right,
Take care.